two, even though I asked like five of them to join today's call. And essentially, what we're going to talk about is like their experience of working in tech sales for the last few months. Wajido hasn't been there for that long. He's only been in tech sales for the last 3 weeks. But I think it's still really good for you guys to ask any questions about his experience of breaking into tech sales, what he's been doing over the last 3 weeks. He's just been training, but you can learn more about that as well. And then when Shadia joins, I think she's been in her company for like maybe 4 or 5 months now. So you guys can ask her how she's getting on in her job at ClearPay. So with that in mind, I'll just start off by quickly introducing Wajido. So Wajido was in the program for the last few months. He was a maths teacher, actually. So he worked in education for the last few years before joining Break Into Tech. And then he landed his sales developer representative role. I can't remember the company name, but he can tell you about that in a second, about 3 weeks ago. So with that in mind, Wajido, do you mind just quickly introducing people to your background, how you ended up at Break Into Tech, and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. So, hi guys, my name is Wajid. I was a former maths teacher, secondary school maths teacher, and I've got a bachelor's in mathematics and a postgraduate in secondary school mathematics. And initially, I was looking for a change in career. I've always wanted to go into like the tech space, but I didn't know how to sort of navigate my way through. And as a teacher, it kind of felt like I was on like a hamster wheel. Like I was just stuck in this sort of cycle of just developing my teaching skills and not being able to get out. And it was actually my wife who initially came across Milan's TikTok page where he was talking about tech sales, and she forwarded this to me on my TikTok. Once looking at it, I went through it, and I was able to have a conversation with Milan and some people from his team, and I joined the program from there. And from day one, it wasn't like sort of just trying to ease me into it. It was more of a thing like get all of these steps sort of sorted out, and I want to just push myself to sort of do it. So I fixed up my LinkedIn profile, I fixed up my CV, asking Milan a bunch of questions, reaching out to him personally, and I think I joined the program in late February, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was then, and I was successful in getting a role around early May. I think that's correct. So the company in question, it's Mimecast. So Mimecast is a cybersecurity company that specializes in email security. You also do a few other things as well, so like awareness training for finding phishing or spam emails, and something along those lines. So that's the basic the gist of what we do. Um, Currently, I'm just in the training phase. I've only started on the 18th of August, so it's still really, really fresh. But it's a hybrid role, so I'm only going into office about 2 times a week. But for someone who was going into school 5 times a week, it's a lot more better than going in that many times. So 2 times a week for me, it feels like a holiday sometimes. But yeah, man, it's been really, really good so far. Like my team is absolutely amazing. They're really, really helpful. It doesn't feel like it's like a competition, like one rival for all kind of thing in the office. Like people are genuinely willing to help and wanting to help because we're all trying to achieve the same goal at the end of the day. Uh, and it's kind of funny as well because even though I was a teacher, the sector that I'm actually working for in my current company is the education and the public sector. So it kind of sort of feels ironic that, coming from a teaching background and now going into the education sector to sort of push Mimecast onto these higher education firms and things. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I've currently been doing at my company.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. And actually, Shadia just joined. I'll just start off by quickly introducing her to you guys as well. So, from what I know, Shadia was in audit for the last like 5 years as an apprentice, and then she, I think, became a senior auditor, and then she joined Break Into Tech, I believe, at the end of 2024, which is pretty crazy thinking about it now. And then I think within a 3 month period or something like that, she landed a SDR role at a company called ClearPay, which he's been at for the last few months. So with that in mind, Shadia, do you want to just tell people a little bit about your background, what you were doing before breaking into tech, and what you've been up to over the last few months?
Hi guys. Yes, so I think you gave a good overview. So I was in corporate audit for 5 years, and I think when I joined, I just qualified. So yeah, that was the timeline. And then I handed in my
What
notice
about
very
that?
shortly
I forgot about
after.
that. I remember
Yeah.
you telling me.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so it was a completely different career change. And I knew I wanted to sort of stay in the something finance based. So I was focused on fintech companies. Um, and then it was about 3 months after I landed that role, obviously quite a few interviews with different companies. And then yeah, finally found a good role. I'm coming up to 6 month probation. So yeah, it's been going good so far.
That's amazing. So you've been there. So you've been at ClearPay for 6 months now.
No, so end of September will be 6 months.
Okay, so that will mean. So what does that mean for probation? So how does that work?
Um, yeah, they'll just say pass or
Oh, okay, okay,
yeah, yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah. But I think it'll be all right.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for that introduction. We've got about 12 people on the call, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask Shadia or Wajido. Sorry, I keep saying Wajido because for some reason I saved your name as Wajido on WhatsApp, but it's Wajid, right? Or is it Wajido?
Wajid is fine, whichever one
Okay,
everyone.
okay, fine, fine. I'll just start off by asking you a question. I know you mentioned that you did a bachelor's and then you even did a postgrad in teaching as well.
Yeah.
So I guess you put a lot of work into becoming a maths teacher. I guess you talked about it a little bit, but why make a huge drastic change in your career to go from that very respectable job, right, to getting into the tech sales space? How did that even come about in your mind?
Yeah. So initially, when I completed my bachelor's, it was in the year 2020, and I'm sure everyone here is old enough to remember what happened in 2020 with COVID. And during COVID, it was really, really difficult to even find like a job anywhere, like anywhere. Even I was applying to like a part-time job at Argos, and it was so difficult because there was like 15 people who are so overly qualified that shouldn't really be working at Argos, just trying to get this job. And I'll be honest, for that year during COVID, I was an absolute bum. Like there was literally nothing you could have like I could have done like genuinely. And I came across one of my friends who was just I was just walking to Tesco's like just randomly, and when I bumped into him, he was telling me he was doing something called a PGCE, so a postgraduate in certification in education, and he was actually becoming a maths teacher. And I thought about teaching, and he was just like, you're always going to need teachers. It's a stable career. There's not really much you can do in the teaching space where your job's always going to be at jeopardy, and math teachers are specialized and things like that. So at the moment in that time, because of what happened in COVID, I thought it would be the best idea to find like a stable career for that moment in time. But then that was those 3-4 years that I was working as a teacher, it was absolutely amazing. Like the school I was at, really, really helpful. Like the kids were absolutely lovely and things like that. But I was just thinking in the long term, in terms of my progression as a teacher and how slow it is compared to other career paths. So when I came across your TikTok page and I saw how quickly you can become an account executive, how much you could be making within the same, like if it was like 3-4 years in between becoming from a BDR to an account executive, comparative to what I was doing, there's a lot of money that I could be making in comparison to what I would be making as a teacher. So sort of took that chance and took that leap to get into that tech sale space. And yeah, so far I'm not thinking about looking back. Like right now, it's going well. It's going good for me. I know it's only 2 weeks in, and it's very early for me to say, but I'm sort of confident in my ability to perform very well at this job. I feel like I can speak quite well. I'm able to interact with a lot of people. I've already been told by some of the managers that I'll be going to some conventions in November. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm sort of ready to go. Like I just want to get on with it.
That's awesome. And where are the conventions? Any good travel opportunities?
I'm in Manchester. I've never been there, so um, I
Okay.
don't know. But yeah, I've never been there, so it'll be nice there. And at least the company is paying for everything, so that's one thing. That's something.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the students recently had an interview with a company called, what is it called? Uni Days? Yeah, Uni Days for an SDR role. And she mentioned that they travel you out to New York and stuff. And I was like, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Really
Uh, I guess a question for you, Shadia. So you've been there for almost 6 months. I guess tell us about what you were expecting when you started working at ClearPay, coming from someone who'd never worked in sales. Tell us a little bit about the realities of, like, just be as honest as you can and share as much info as you can, because obviously there's a lot of people in the program now, and even people that are listening in, they might be a bit star-eyed and they might be thinking that it's going to be glorious, but you've been there. So why don't you tell us the reality of what's been happening for you? Because obviously I have no idea how you've been doing at your job.
I think the reality is that it's a roller coaster, and you hear it, and you did prep me for it. It was like it would be up and down, and everyone says it, and you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But you don't really truly understand until you're in it. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So, like, say for instance, I think my first month, um, weirdly, I smashed it. Like from the first few phone calls I made, I was booking meetings, and everything was going really well. And it's like, oh my gosh, they thought, yeah, what's going on? She's great, whatever. Um, and I was still booking meetings, etc. But it's very, very up and down. There was dry spells for the whole sales team. I think the month after, no, like 2 months later, it was really difficult to book anything for anyone. And it's such a culture shock coming from a career where it's very predictable. Um, it's very black and white. You know what you're going to do. It doesn't really change in audit. So having that um, months where things are really good and then things are super quiet was quite hard for me to wrap my head around. But there's some things that are out of your control. What I did learn though is that when they say you need persistence, you really, really need it. Otherwise, you're not going to last. There was times where I was thinking, oh, audit. If something goes wrong, then maybe I might have to go back to audit. But then there'll be a week where, like, say for instance, this week I was booking, really, really good meetings. So it's honestly so up and down. But I think, yeah, persistence was the biggest thing that I learned. Um, and what was also a shock to me, which I think I mentioned briefly when we'd spoken maybe a month after I got the job, is that there's this whole other world where you're surrounded by majority of people making six figures, and there's great perks, and it's like you sort of sit and think, why was I doing what I was doing for so long, to be honest. So it you could see why it's such a lucrative career, but honestly it is hard and you need to put the work in. So yeah, that's honestly speaking, it's great, but you need to have your work cut out, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, if you guys have any questions to Shadia, please ask away. She's been at ClearPay. She's been working at a company called ClearPay for the last 6 months now. So ask away. But I totally agree. I think what I really liked about what you said was that you're surrounded by people who are making all this money, and you also believe that you can do that, but it's obviously super hard. I think the main reason that I wanted to work in tech sales or in sales in general was not even because I thought I was so good. I just wanted to work in an environment where making that much money was even a possibility. Because in most careers, right, in most traditional careers, the possibility of getting a more than a 3% salary increase every year is like the max. You're capped out at that. So every day that you have to go to work, you basically nothing amazing is going to happen to you. Like there's zero possibility of anything amazing happening to you. So I was like, this is probably one of the few careers in the world where if I'm good, I at least have the possibility of making that much money. But thank you so much for being honest, Shadia. Tarek, go ahead, brother. What's your question?
Thanks so much. So, Shadia, see when you come home from work, right, or when you switch off your laptop or whatever, like how do you sort of unwind from the day? Like how do you sort of like look back and like sort of give your day perspective if you've had like a proper shitty day?
Good question. I think one of the main things is reflection. So, what could have been done better in terms of what I can control? Like, say, for instance, if uh, I didn't get that many connects in terms of people actually answering the phone, I think, right, okay, tomorrow I need to make more dials, or just trying to prep for the next day in terms of, okay, who am I going to call? If I do some extra prospecting in my spare time, just to, I think you need to you need to reflect and sort of think, okay, what can I do better the next day? But in terms of winding down, I think something that my colleagues always bang on about and my manager is about detaching from the outcome, because it's easy to, if you've had a rough week, it's easy to really get down about it and be like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I'm shit at my job. But sometimes it's just, so we've had summer holidays, everyone's on holiday. Um, and you can't take that personally, or you might speak to loads of people and everyone's in a bad mood. You can't control that. So I think detaching from the outcome is really important, because you're going to have rough weeks, but at the same time, you're going to have really great weeks. And those great weeks make everything worth it. You're like, okay, I've still got it. Um, Cold calling's not dead. I haven't picked the wrong career. It can work out. So I think definitely detaching from the outcome will help you to be less stressed about it. I think you can also apply it to the interview process as well, because that's really, really, it's tough doing back-to-back interviews. But if you fail a stage, or it's a company that you really wanted, getting super upset about it and thinking, right, okay, I'm going to give up, it's you're not going to get anywhere really. So you have to really detach from the outcome and be like, do you know what, the game's the game, keep it moving, try again tomorrow. I hope that answers your question.
What I want to just add to that quickly is that it's really easy to say that, and in practice, it's super hard. And this is why a lot of like ex-athletes or people that come from extreme performance-based backgrounds, like athletes or entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship, like having your own business, is a performance-based thing, right? Even with Break Into Tech, there's weeks where we have loads of students joining. There's weeks when nobody joins, and there's weeks where we have 10 million views on TikTok, and then there's weeks where you have nothing and you think about, oh my God, why am I wasting my time on this? But because I've done this stuff for so long, and obviously Shadia is getting used to it now as well, and other people in tech sales, if you come from a performance background, your brain naturally rewires to the point where you think, okay, it's sales, it's natural, it's business, it's natural, it's performance based. One day I'm down, the next day I'm up. And obviously, there's a lot of things you can do, like journaling is a good one. I think Shadia mentioned that, but journaling is a really good one, like controlling your thoughts. But we can talk about that all day. I'll just move on to the next person who has a question, which is, I think it was Multazim. What's your question, brother? What's your question?
So my question is, do you ever have a fear of not being able to reach your targets every month? And what does that fear or anxiety look like when you're working?
Is this for me?
For both of you. You can go first.
We can let Wajiro just have a go at it first because he's only been there at his company for 3 weeks. But Wajiro, how would you handle that? I know you haven't been through it yet, but how do you see your colleagues handling that pressure?
That's actually a very good question because one of my colleagues that works in the Benelux region, he for 8 months hasn't hit target. He hasn't hit his quotas, or he hasn't hit his pipeline as well. But I think what it is your consistent approach in how you can keep developing yourself. So if you sort of see that the emailing is not working, like your personalized emails or how you're outreaching, I think then you sort of develop your cold calling. And if that's not working, go to colleagues who are hitting their targets, who are doing it, because it's not like the whole world is against you and not against them, if that makes sense. There's something you might not be doing as well as someone else. And I think definitely, communicating with your colleagues and understanding what they're doing can help you sort of impact. And having always good relationships with those people will help you progress. And I'm sure that, Shadi has been in her role for 6 months, and she can definitely, vouch for the fact that, having that good communication with your colleagues can definitely benefit you in the best possible way.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. From personal experience, it's very stressful thinking, oh, I'm not gonna. Last quarter, I only got 80%, so I didn't hit my quota, and um, this quarter we don't know yet. Obviously, it's we're still quite early on, but obviously this month's been rough. Um, and it's very, especially where it's new, it's definitely a stress that everybody has. The people that are 3 years in have the same stresses, but I think having good relationships with my colleagues and my manager, and having those open conversations to I openly say to them, look, I'm scared. I it's tough and it's new. Um, I wanted to come in and smash it and do 150%, and the people that you see on LinkedIn and stuff. But I think what they said to me is like, look, you just started. I have a colleague that he's the top performer in a company doing 200 odd percent, and he said the first couple months I was rubbish. It's a process. You're not gonna go in there and be the best salesperson ever, especially if you're coming from a different career. So I think they definitely give you grace for that. And as long as they can see that you're trying and you're putting in the work and you're improving all the time, then that's all that matters. At the end of the day, you're taking a risk, changing careers. Uh, so you might as well make it worth it and put your all in. If it doesn't work out, then obviously it's not great, and there'll be that fear. But you yeah, it's really unpredictable, and I think everyone has it. People do give you grace because it's not an easy job. That's why you get paid a lot. So just trying to manage what you can in terms of your efforts, put in the effort in, and that's all you can do really.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I think what I took from that is that you can only control your input and you can't control the output, right? So that's just like business. That's just like life. If you want to be less fat, you can go to the gym, but you can't control what the scale says, right? You can only just go to the gym and use MyFitnessPal to track your calories, right? So, okay, Yusra, what's your question?
Hi, I wanted to ask a question to Shadia and Wajido. I want you to know what was the the difference between the other applicants, and what was the difference with you that you got the interviews and you got the actual job? Essentially, what set you apart from the other applicants, and just advice on what you did differently.
Shadi, do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first.
Okay, so initially, one thing that sort of helped me was the connection that I made to somebody at the company beforehand. So initially, what happened was that I sort of connected with someone. He was an account manager at Mimecast, beforehand, and I actually applied to my company
Wait, sorry.
2-3 months beforehand, but I never
We've
got
got
a
other kids
response
coming
or
as well.
like a rejection email from them. I just got just aired basically. And then when I reached out to this guy, sorry, I connected with him, but he actually reached out to me. That's what happened. So I connected with him LinkedIn, and then he just sent me a message going, "Salam, bro. What's up? What do you need?" And me and him, we got talking. He sent me his phone number. He referred me. I met with the manager online. I normally these processes, and everyone who has gone through the interview process knows there's about maybe 3, 4, 5 stages to this thing. I only had 2 interviews, one with the manager and then a final stage interview, and that was it. So I got very, very lucky because I sort of connected with someone beforehand who basically just, he just fast tracked my application. So I think that's what I done was to make a good connection. Even now, and this is how I know, like, it just worked out so perfectly for me because the guy that I connected with, he is actually my account manager that I'm working under right now. So I already have a very, very good relationship with my account manager as it is. And when I got to my interview process, the final stage interview, because and Milan was there as well. He even practiced with me as well. I knew this company like the back of my hand. Everything I could do, everything I could understand about this company that was public information, I knew it. I didn't have a notebook with all my notes written down. I knew how to answer these questions as best as I can. Any sort of objection handling or any scenario based, I tried to make sure that was the most confident I could be. And the one thing that the manager said to me when I walked out, he goes, "That's how I know you're a maths teacher because you literally just knew everything without having to do everything from a notebook." There was other applicants that were coming in there with notebooks, with notes and things that he just loved the fact that I was able to do it off the cuff, off the top of my head, really, really quick, fast, and nice niche answers. So I think that's what set me apart from the other applicants on that particular day.
Awesome. I love that answer. The only thing I would add to that, by the way, is that Wajiro had loads of interviews. He even had one company which I think gave you the offer and then flaked or something. Did that happen? Was it Grafana Labs?
So Grafana Labs, initially what happened was that they never rejected me, but they never accepted me at the same point. So it was like I'm at a limbo. And then I sort of kind of once I got the Mimecast offer, I was pressing them a little bit, like, look, I've already got an offer from another company. Like, is there any sort of flex? And they were like, look, we're still going through interviews and things like that. And I just didn't want to put Mimecast as like a second company because they are still a pretty good company. So I just accepted Mimecast, and that's when the rejection from Grafana literally followed the day after I accepted the offer. But yeah, it was quite hectic for me at that point.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So he went through a lot of ups and downs. He got final interviews. He was doing loads of prep. He did loads of prep with me. He was one of the most active students for a while, obviously doing a full-time job at the same time, going into the office, whatever, 4 or 5 days a week. So he worked super hard. Shadia, do you want to have a go at that question as well? Like, what made you stand out compared to other candidates?
I think there's two things. Me and my manager were actually speaking about it last month, funnily enough. But he said two things stood out. One was I was quite persistent. So I'd initially reached out, he responded, and then he ghosted me a few times. And I just kept trying, kept trying. I messaged him quite a few times, and then he was finally like, sorry, I've been super busy, but let's jump on a call. And that was my first interview. And another thing that I did was I connected with quite a few people in the company, and I kept constant communication with them. So at every stage, I was asking for advice, asking basically how to treat every interview stage, and just maintaining that relationship. So when I did join, it's like was just catching up with they're not completely strangers. And my manager obviously noticed that because they talk in the office. They're like, oh yeah, I've spoken to her, she seems really good, whatever. So I think those were two things, the multi-threading of like just speaking to different people, different touch points, and also just being persistent really. Unless it's a firm no, then you've still got a shot, I think.
That's the lesson. That's the lesson. You have to not give up until it's a firm no, 100%. Before I go to you, Yusra, I just want to ask a question from my side. So, I'm not going to reveal details, but I've recently heard back from two students who successfully landed roles that they have, they have faced some discrimination, right? Because they could be, for example, the only Muslim guy there, or the only Asian guy, or the only black guy. Obviously, you two being minorities as well, especially you, Shadia, because you've been there for 6 months. Have you experienced, not necessarily have you experienced, but how do you deal with maybe being a minority? Is that a thing in tech sales? Is that a thing in your company? Because I think a lot of people will be thinking that, and I heard from two people that have landed roles that they haven't been having the best time because unfortunately they are a minority. How are you dealing with that?
That's a really interesting one. I come from a firm in Maidstone that there was only like two, three black people in the office, but I honestly was so blessed to land the company that I did land because it was very, very diverse. And thankfully I don't have that issue because it's more or less 50-50 in terms of minorities and uh, white people. So I didn't, yeah, from my perspective, I can't really speak on that because I'm lucky enough not to face that.
And what about you, Wajid? How are you finding that? I mean, it's probably too early to tell, but are you like, do you ever think about that? Do you
Um,
think that you'll be the only Muslim guy there, brown guy there?
Not really. I won't be the like. Alhamdulillah, I'm not the only a Muslim guy or brown guy there, so that sort of helps. The one thing I did sort of pick up because I don't I'm not really from like that kind of culture. I've never really done that kind of stuff, but there's a huge um drinking culture in these offices, like a lot. Like even after there's a rule, company rule that after 4 o'clock you're allowed to have like a drink. Like they have alcohol in the office, and that was for me was something I've never ever seen in my life. Like imagine just rocking up to school one time with a beer in your hand. Like for me, that's not I don't see that stuff. Yeah, so um, I was like, what? Like alcohol in the office? I was just like, raw, this is crazy. But this is something you just have to sort of deal with. Like, if someone sort of tries to offer you, go, no, thank you, and just sort of explain. They're really, really polite. Most, like, all of them, pretty much. Like, they can, like, they know, like, that's for them, and I'm different. I don't mind standing in the corner with a Fanta in my hand. You get me? Like, I don't mind like a Fanta Zero. It's calm for me, But that was pretty much the only thing. But I don't think they'll from that like discrimination would come from it. At the end of the day, you can still banter with these lot. You can still joke around with them. Have your little conversation with people and stuff. But people are really gonna be friendly. And at the end of the day, it's a job. Like they're your colleagues. Like they're not gonna be the best man at my wedding. Do you get what I'm saying? But maybe they might. But maybe majority of the time, I'm already married. So it doesn't really matter. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're just there for just trying to make as much money as you can, and you can have good experience with your colleagues.
Yeah.
So
I love
that's
that.
how I sort of see it.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to yeah, just get your thoughts on it. There's about 3 minutes left on this Zoom link. But Yusra, what's your question?
Right, sorry, I just want to kind of follow up with my last question. Both of you said the most, like the common denominator on getting your, role was actually connecting with people. I actually want to ask you, do you think if like networking helps more than just cold applying? And if so, then how do you approach it? How do you kind of go about networking with people from the company that you want to work with, or kind of send emails of like the job role that you found on LinkedIn or wherever?
Yeah, I think definitely networking it works better from all the applications that I sent out. Traditionally, I've never gotten an interview, to be honest. But it's just this. I'm assuming Bilal, you teach it the same way, but it's exactly just connecting on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's your best friend, and reaching out to as many people as possible. But when you are having these conversations, I used to just set up calls. I'd take their number. We'd set up a call on WhatsApp, even if it's just checking in, where you can. Or especially with the companies, the people that are at the companies that you're currently applying for, keeping that communication, even if it's just saying, oh, I just had my next interview, it went well, just updates, things like that. And it sort of breeds a natural relationship, I think. Sorry, I'm conscious of the time.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Thank you for that, Shadia. I think if there is any final questions, guys, you can just ask Shadia and Wajido in the group chat. But I think I just want to say thank you so much for your time, guys, Shadia and Wajido. Best of luck with your careers. And yeah, I mean, the other thing I was going to say is we're going to start hosting Break Into Tech in-person events soon. So I would love for you guys, to get involved if you can. We're going to do, social events as well as just like learning tech sales related events as well. So you guys are more than welcome to attend. Again, have a great rest of your Sunday. Thanks for attending.
Thank you very much, for sure. Good
Thank you,
catching up.
Shadia. Thank you, Wajido.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.